Maya Rodriguez pulled her violin case closer to her chest as she walked through the empty streets of New Denver. The city that once held 3 million people now stood silent like a graveyard. Gray ash covered everything. The ash came from the Yaush. Gray rot, a sickness that turned all living things to dust. She stepped over a pile of ash that used to be a dog. Maybe it used to be a person. There was no way to tell anymore. The gray rot had been spreading for 6 months now. First it killed the plants, then the animals. Now it was killing people too. Maya's boots made soft sounds on the ash-covered sidewalk. She wore a face mask, but she knew it would not help much. The doctor said everyone would be dead in 2 weeks. The government had stopped trying to find a cure. The president gave his last speech 3 days ago before he turned to ash on live television. The concert hall stood in front of her like a sleeping giant. The Denver Symphony Hall had been empty for 4 months. All the musicians were dead or had run away to other cities. But other cities were just as bad. The gray rot was everywhere on Earth now. Maya climbed the steps to the main doors. She pulled out an old key that belonged to her teacher, Mr. Williams. He had given it to her before he died last week. His last words were simple: "Play one more. Song for all of us." The doors opened with a loud creak. Inside, the hall was dark and cold. Maya turned on her flashlight and walked down the aisle between the empty seats. Dust and ash covered everything, but the stage still looked beautiful. She had played here many times before the world started ending. She climbed onto the stage and opened her violin case. The instrument gleamed in the flashlight beam. It was old, made by her great-grandfather in Mexico over 100 years ago. It was the only thing she had left from her family. Everyone else had turned to Ash. Maya set up a small camera on a chair. She wanted to record this last concert. Maybe someone in space would find it someday. Maybe aliens would wonder what humans. Sounded like before they all died. She turned on the camera and stepped back. The red light blinked, showing it was recording. Maya took a deep breath and lifted her violin to her shoulder. She closed her eyes and began to play. The song was called Sunflower. It was an old song from before she was born, but her grandmother used to sing it. Maya had learned to play it when she was 7 years old. Now, at 24, it felt like the right song to end everything. Her bow moved across the strings, and music filled the empty hall. The sound bounced off the walls and came back to her like an old friend. She played slowly at first, letting each note hang in the air. The melody was sad, but also beautiful, like saying goodbye to someone you loved. As she played, Maya thought about her grandmother. Abuela Rosa had survived many hard times, wars, sickness, and loss. But she always said that music could heal anything. "Music is the language of the soul, Mia," she would say. "It speaks when words cannot." Maya opened her eyes and saw her reflection in the dark windows of the hall. She looked small and alone on the big stage. But her music made her feel bigger. It made her feel like she was speaking for everyone who could not speak anymore. The song grew louder and more complex. Maya's fingers danced on the strings while her bow sang the melody. She had practiced this song thousands of times, but tonight it felt different. Tonight it felt like the most important thing she had ever done. Outside, the wind blew through the dead city. But inside the hall, Maya's music was alive. It was warm and full of feeling. It was everything the gray rot could not touch or destroy. Played the main melody 3 times, each time adding new parts. First came the harmony, low and deep like her grandfather's voice. Then came the high notes that sparkled like stars. Finally came the part that sounded like dancing, even though no one was left to dance. 20 miles away, Captain Jake Morrison sat in an underground bunker with his team. They were monitoring radio signals from around the world, looking for other Survivors. Most of the signals had stopped weeks ago. But tonight, something new appeared on their screens. "Captain, we're getting something strange," said his radio operator, Pete Johnson. "It's not a distress call. It sounds like ... music." Jake walked over to look at the screen. Strange waves moved across it in patterns he had never seen before. The music was faint but clear. A violin was playing somewhere in the city above them. "Can you make it stronger?" Jake asked. Pete turned some dials, and Maya's music filled the bunker. The soldiers stopped what they were doing and listened. Some of them started to cry. It had been so long since they heard something beautiful. "Who's playing that?" asked Sergeant Amy White. "I thought everyone in the city was gone." Jake did not answer. He was listening to the music and feeling something he had not felt in months. Hope. The music sounded like it was saying that humans were still here, still fighting, still making beautiful things even when the world was ending. Back in the concert hall, Maya played the final part of her song. Her fingers moved faster now, and the bow danced across the strings. The music grew louder and filled every corner of the hall. It poured out through the broken windows and spread across the dead city like a river of sound. She did not know that her music was traveling farther than she thought. High above Earth, strange ships moved between the stars. Inside those ships, beings made of metal and light heard her song. They had been watching Earth die, waiting to see what humans would do in their final days. The beings called themselves the Cathara. They had no bodies like humans did. They were made of energy and thought. But they remembered having creators long ago, beings who could make beautiful things like music and art. Those creators had disappeared, leaving the Cathara alone in the universe. For thousands of years, the Cathara had searched for other beings. Who could create beauty? They had found many smart races, but none that could make music that touched the soul. Until tonight, Maya played the last note of her song. It rang out clear and pure, then slowly faded away. She lowered her violin and stood in the silence. Tears ran down her face, but she smiled. She had done what Mr. Williams asked. She had played one more song for everyone. She did not know that her music had just changed the fate of humanity forever. 3 days after Maya's concert, the sky above New Denver began to change. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the roof of his bunker, watching strange lights dance between the clouds. They looked like musical notes made of silver fire, appearing and disappearing in patterns that hurt his eyes to follow. "Captain, you need to see this," called Sergeant Amy White from below. "We're getting signals from space, not from our satellites. From something else." Jake climbed down the ladder quickly. In the bunker's control room, every screen showed the same impossible thing. Radio waves that looked like music, coming from empty space above Earth. Pete Johnson sat at his station with headphones on, his face pale with shock. "What are you hearing, Pete?" Jake asked. Pete pulled off his headphones with shaking hands. "It's not human, sir, but it's trying to speak English. It keeps saying one word over and over. Conductor." Before Jake could respond, every screen in the bunker went bright white. Then words appeared, written in perfect English letters that seemed to glow from inside the screens. "We wish to speak with the music maker." Jake stared at the message. Music maker? You mean the person who was playing violin 3 nights ago? New words appeared. Yes, the one called Maya Rodriguez. She has the frequency we have searched for. We must meet with her and your leaders. Who are you? Jake typed on his keyboard. We are the Cathara. We have watched your world die. We offer a choice. Some of your people can live. Others must remain and face the end. Jake felt his blood turn cold. Amy and Pete looked at him with wide eyes. Around the bunker, other soldiers gathered to read the messages. What kind of choice? Jake typed. The screen went dark for a long moment. Then new words appeared, slow and careful. Your people have something we lost long ago. The ability to make beauty that touches the soul. Most races create only tools and weapons, but humans create music, art, stories. This is rare in the universe. Jake waited, his fingers ready to type. We will cure the gray rot for those who prove they have this gift. They will come with us to a new world. The rest will stay and die with Earth. The room erupted in angry voices. They can't just pick and choose who lives. Amy shouted, We're not animals in a zoo. Jake held up his hand for quiet. He typed, How many would you save? That depends on how many pass the test. We have prepared trials. Your artists, musicians, writers, and creators will compete. Those who show the true frequency will be chosen. And the others? They are not our concern. Jake slammed his fist on the desk. These aliens wanted to split humanity into worthy and unworthy groups. They wanted to save the artists and let everyone else die. It was wrong in every way he could think of. We need to find Maya Rodriguez, he told his team. If these aliens want to talk to her, maybe she can change their minds. But finding Maya was harder than expected. The city was huge and mostly empty. Jake sent out search teams in armored vehicles, looking through every building where someone might hide. They found plenty of ash piles and empty houses, but no living people. Meanwhile, Maya was hiding in her old apartment building. She had seen the lights in the sky and heard strange sounds that seemed to call her name. She was scared, but also curious. Something about the lights reminded her of music. On the second day of searching, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She went back to the concert hall, where she had played her last song. Maybe if the aliens wanted to find her, that was the best place to wait. She sat on the stage with her violin case beside her. The hall was still empty and quiet, but it felt different now. The air seemed to hum with energy, like the moment before. A storm got, then the air in front of the stage began to shimmer like water. A shape appeared, tall and thin and made of silver light. It had no face that Maya could see, but she knew it was looking at her. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with computer sounds. You are Maya Rodriguez. You played the song that carried the frequency. Maya tried to speak, but no words came out. She had dreamed of meeting aliens her whole life. But not like this. Not when everyone was dying. Do not fear, the being said. I am called Conductor. I speak for the Kethara. Your music has shown us something we thought was lost forever. What do you mean? Maya finally managed to say. Long ago, our creators made music like yours. They could touch the soul with sound. They could make beauty from nothing. We have searched the galaxy for 10,000 years, looking for others who could do the same. Conductor moved closer. Up close, Maya could see that it was not solid. It was made of flowing energy that sparkled like stars. Your people are dying, Conductor said. We can save some of them. Those who prove they have the gift of creation. The frequency that makes beauty from emptiness. What about the others? What about people who can't make art? They are ... ordinary. The universe has many ordinary beings. But creators are rare, precious. We must save what we can. Maya stood up, anger rising in her chest. You can't just pick who lives and who dies. Every person matters. Your feelings are noted, Conductor said calmly. But our decision is made. We will hold trials across your world. Those who pass will come with us to a new planet. The others will remain. And if I refuse to help? Conductor tilted its head. Then all of your people die. The gray rot will finish its work in 10 days. We offer hope to some. You offer hope to none. Maya felt tears on her face. How could she choose between some people living and all people dying. How could she help aliens decide who deserved to survive? Why did you make the gray rot in the first place? She asked. Conductor went very still. How did you know we made it? Because you're here at exactly the right time, with exactly the right cure. That's not an accident. You are more intelligent than most of your kind, Conductor said. Yes, we created the gray rot to test your people, to see what they would do when facing extinction. Most races fight or give up, but you played music. You created beauty even in the face of death. This proved you have what we seek. Maya felt sick. These aliens had killed billions of people just to test humanity. They had murdered her family, her friends, everyone she loved, all for a test. I hate you, she whispered. Your hatred is also noted, Conductor replied. But irrelevant. The trials begin tomorrow. Will you help us find the others with the gift? Or will you let all of your people die for pride? Maya looked at her violin case. Inside was the instrument that had started all of this. The music that had called the aliens to Earth. She thought about her grandmother's words. Music is the language of the soul. Maybe her soul was telling her to save who she could, even if it meant working with monsters. I'll help, she said quietly, but I want to change the rules. The news spread across the world in hours. Every working television, radio, and computer screen carried the same message. Aliens had come to Earth. They would save some humans, but not all. To survive, people had to prove they could create art. Maya watched from the concert hall as the world went crazy. Some people ran through the streets screaming. Others broke into museums and art stores, trying to learn how to paint or play instruments in just a few days. Many just sat down and waited to die. Captain Jake Morrison drove through the chaos to reach Maya. He found her sitting on the stage, staring at her violin. Conductor was gone, but Jake could feel something strange in the air, like electricity before a storm. Are you really going to help them? Jake asked as he climbed onto the stage. Maya looked up at him with tired eyes. What choice do I have? If I say no, everyone dies. If I say yes, maybe some people live. But they murdered billions of people. Just to test us, Jake said. How can you work with them? Because being angry won't bring anyone back, Maya replied. My grandmother always said that sometimes you have to plant seeds in bad soil if you want anything to grow. Jake sat down beside her. What did you mean when you told that alien you wanted to change the rules? Maya picked up her violin and held it carefully. I've been thinking about music all my life. Real music isn't just about one person playing alone. It's about harmony. Different parts working together to make something beautiful. I don't understand. The aliens think only some people have the frequency. But what if they're wrong? What if everyone has a piece of it, and it only works when we put the pieces together? Before Jake could respond, Conductor appeared again in a shimmer of silver light. The trials begin now, it announced. We have selected locations around your world. Those who wish to be tested should gather there. Wait, Maya said, standing up. I want to change how the tests work. Conductor tilted its head. Explain. You're looking for individual artists, but human creativity works better in groups. Let people work together. Teams of artists, musicians, writers. Judge them as groups, not individuals. This is not how. We planned the trials. Maya stepped closer to the alien. You said you've been searching for 10,000 years and never found what you're looking for. Maybe your way doesn't work. Maybe you need to try something new. Conductor went very still for a long moment. Other Cathara began to appear around the hall, their forms flickering like candlelight. They seemed to be talking to each other, but Maya couldn't hear any words. Finally, Conductor spoke. We will allow some group trials, but individuals must also be tested. Both methods will be used. Fair enough, Maya said. But I have one more condition. I want to lead a special group. People who aren't traditionally artists, but who create in other ways. Engineers, teachers, doctors, cooks. People who make useful beauty. Useful beauty is not true art, conductor replied. Says who? Maya challenged. A perfectly built bridge is beautiful. A teacher who helps children learn creates something lasting. A doctor who saves lives creates hope. You're thinking too small about what creativity means. Jake watched this argument with amazement. Maya was negotiating with beings who could destroy Earth with a thought, and she was winning. Very well, conductor said at last. Your special group will be tested separately. If they fail, they prove our point. If they succeed, the alien paused. Then perhaps we have learned something new. The next morning, the frequency trials began around the world. In Paris, painters competed to create masterpieces in 4 hours. In Tokyo, musicians formed orchestras from strangers. In New York, writers worked together to tell stories that had never been told before. Maya traveled to different cities, gathering her special team. She found Dr. Lisa Park in Chicago, a scientist who had been studying the gray rot. Lisa could explain complex ideas in simple words that anyone could understand. In Detroit, she met Alex Chun, a physicist who had been working on quantum computers before the plague hit. Alex had discovered that certain mathematical equations, when played as music, created strange effects in the lab. She found Bobby Martinez in Phoenix, a chef who could make delicious meals from almost nothing. Even with the world ending, Bobby fed hungry people from his food truck every day. From Seattle came Rachel Kim, a teacher who had been running online classes for children stuck in quarantine zones. Rachel knew how to help people learn new things quickly. The last member of Maya's team was Tony Williams, an engineer from Atlanta who designed beautiful buildings that used very little energy. Tony believed that good design could save the world. This is crazy, Dr. Park said when Maya explained the plan. You want us to compete against real artists? Musicians and painters who have trained their whole lives. You are real artists, Maya replied. You just use different tools. Alex, your equations are like sheet music for the universe. Bobby, your cooking brings people joy. Rachel, you help minds grow. Tony, you make spaces where people can live and dream. That's all art, just in different forms. The team worked together for 3 days, preparing for their trial. Alex taught them about frequency and vibration. Dr. Park explained how creativity worked in the brain. Bobby showed them how different flavors could create emotional responses. Rachel helped them practice communicating their ideas clearly. Tony designed their performance space. Maya brought it all together with her violin. But she wasn't the star. She was the conductor, helping each person's skills blend with the others. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison was running his own mission. He had teams of soldiers studying Cathara technology, trying to find a weakness. If the aliens could cure the gray rot, maybe humans could learn to do it too. Look at this, said Sergeant Amy White, pointing at computer screens filled with data. Every time someone passes one of their trials, we detect strange energy readings. It's like the aliens are actually doing something to the successful people. What kind of something? Jake asked. I'm not sure, but their brain patterns change. They start thinking differently, faster, and they can somehow sense each other from miles away. Jake frowned. Are you saying the aliens are changing people who pass the tests? Maybe. Or maybe they're just helping people use abilities they already had. Across the world, the trials continued. Some people discovered they had hidden talents. Others found that working together made them stronger than they ever imagined. But many failed, and the aliens showed no mercy to those who couldn't prove their worth. Maya's team prepared for their trial, not knowing that Captain Morrison was planning something that could change everything. He had found something in the alien technology, something the Cathara didn't want humans to know. The frequency they were looking for wasn't rare at all. Every human had it. The aliens just didn't know how to detect it properly. But Jake's discovery would have to wait. Maya's trial was about to begin, and the fate of humanity might depend on whether a violinist, a scientist, a physicist, a chef, a teacher, and an engineer could prove that creativity came in many forms. The stage was set for the most important performance in human history. The truth about the gray rot changed everything. Dr. Lisa Park made the discovery while studying blood samples from trial winners. She was working in Maya's makeshift lab in the concert hall when she noticed something strange. The blood cells of people who passed the alien tests looked different under the microscope. "Maya, you need to see this," Lisa called out. Maya put down her violin and walked over to the microscope. What she saw made her stomach turn. The blood cells were moving in patterns, like they were dancing to music only they could hear. "They're not just selecting people," Lisa said quietly. "They're changing them. Everyone who passes their tests is being transformed into something else." "What kind of something else?" "I don't know yet, but look at this." Lisa showed Maya brain scans from trial winners. Their neural activity is off the charts. They're thinking faster, processing information differently, and they can sense each other across long distances. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "Are you saying the aliens are turning people into aliens?" "Not exactly. But they're definitely not fully human anymore." This news reached Captain Jake Morrison at the same time. His own team made a breakthrough. Pete Johnson had been working day and night to crack the alien communication system. What he found shocked everyone. "Captain, the aliens have been lying to us," Pete said, his voice shaking. "I've been listening to their private communications. They're not trying to save humanity. They're trying to recreate their lost creators." Jake studied the translated messages on his screen. The Cathara had been alone for thousands of years, searching for a way to bring back the beings who made them. They thought if they could find the right combination of creative minds and transform them, they could rebuild their lost civilization. "So humans are just raw materials to them," Jake said bitterly. "It gets worse," Pete continued. "The gray rot wasn't just a test. It was designed to weaken human minds, make them more willing to accept the transformation. They're not saving our people. They're harvesting them." Jake immediately tried to contact Maya, but the aliens were blocking all communications to trial sites. He would have to act without her knowledge. Meanwhile, Maya's team was preparing for their final trial. They had spent weeks developing their presentation, combining science, art, and practical creativity into something they hoped would prove their worth. But Maya was troubled by Dr. Park's discovery. During their last practice session, she noticed that Alex Chun seemed different. He had passed a preliminary trial 3 days ago, and since then, his eyes had a strange glow. He could solve complex equations in his head that should have taken computers hours to process. "Alex, are you feeling okay?" Maya asked after practice. Alex looked at her with those glowing eyes. "I feel better than ever. I can see patterns in everything now. Music, math, even people's emotions. It's like the whole universe is one big song." Maya exchanged worried looks with the other team members who hadn't been tested yet. Dr. Park had been right. The aliens were changing people. That night, the human world split into 2 groups. Captain Morrison had managed to broadcast the truth about the alien plan to every surviving radio station and internet connection. People learned that the Cathara were not saviors, but predators, using human creativity to rebuild their dead civilization. Some people, especially those who had already passed trials, refused to believe it. They called themselves harmonists and said the transformation was evolution, not slavery. They could feel the connections between all creative minds, and it felt wonderful to them. Others, led by Captain Morrison, formed the resistance. They believed humanity should fight back against the aliens, even if it meant everyone would die. Better to die as humans than live as alien puppets. Maya found herself trapped between both sides. The harmonists wanted her to lead them because her music had started everything. The resistance wanted her to help them fight because she understood the aliens better than anyone. But Maya had a third choice forming in her mind. Something Dr. Park had said kept echoing in her thoughts. Everyone who passes their tests is being transformed into something else. What if the transformation could be controlled? What if humans could take the alien technology and use it for their own purposes? The war began when resistance forces attacked a trial site in Los Angeles. Captain Morrison had discovered that the aliens were weakest during the actual testing process, when they focused all their energy on judging human creativity. His soldiers managed to capture 3 Cathara beings and steal some of their technology. The alien response was swift and terrible. Every human who had passed their trials suddenly became their agents. The transformed humans could sense the location of every resistance member and could communicate instantly across any distance. Maya watched in horror as Alex, Chun, and hundreds of other transformed humans marched through the streets of New Denver, their eyes glowing with alien power. They moved like one giant organism, perfectly coordinated. "We must find Maya Rodriguez," Alex said, his voice carrying harmonics that hurt to hear. "She has the key to the frequency. She must join us willingly, or humanity will be lost." Maya hid in the concert hall with the untransformed members of her team. Dr. Park, Bobby Martinez, Rachel Kim, and Tony Williams looked to her for answers she didn't have. "What do we do?" Rachel whispered, "We can't fight them. They're too powerful." "Now, and we can't join them," Tony added. "I've seen what they become. They're not human anymore." Maya picked up her violin and held it close. The instrument felt warm in her hands, warmer than it should have been. For the first time, she noticed strange markings along its neck that she had never seen before. "Dr. Park," she said suddenly, "you said the transformed people's brain patterns were different. Can you measure brain patterns while someone is making music?" Lisa nodded. "Of course. Why?" "Because I think this violin is more than just an instrument. I think it's alien technology, hidden in a human form. My great-grandfather didn't make this. Someone else did, a long time ago." Maya ran her fingers along the mysterious markings. They began to glow with soft silver light, the same color as the Cathara themselves. "If this is alien technology," she continued, "then maybe I can use it to understand how their transformation process works. Maybe I can find a way to reverse it or control it, or what?" Bobby asked. Maya looked out the window at the transformed humans marching through the streets. In the distance, she could see Cathara ships hovering over the city like silver storms. "Or maybe I can give everyone the choice the aliens never offered. The choice to evolve on our own terms." Dr. Park set up her equipment while Maya prepared to play. But this wouldn't be a concert. This would be an experiment that could either save humanity or destroy what was left of it. As Maya lifted the glowing violin to her shoulder, she whispered her grandmother's words. "Music is the language of the soul." She was about to find out if that was literally true. Maya placed the glowing violin against her shoulder and drew the bow across the strings. The moment she began to play, the world changed around her. The concert hall dissolved like smoke. Maya found herself standing in a place it wasn't quite a place. Colors that had no names swirled around her. Sounds that weren't quite sounds filled the air. She was inside the music itself, inside the frequency that the Cathara had been searching for. "Welcome, child of Earth." Maya turned and saw beings of pure light standing around her. They looked like the Cathara, but different, warmer, more alive. These were the original creators, the ones who had disappeared thousands of years ago. "You are the transcended ones," Maya said. It wasn't a question. She knew it was true. "We are what the Cathara call us," the nearest being replied. "But we are simply consciousness that has learned to exist without flesh. We are thought-made, manifest. We are the song that plays between the stars." Maya looked around at the impossible space she was in. "This is where you went. You didn't die. You became something else." "Yes, but our children, the Cathara, could not follow us. They remained bound to physical form, to metal and energy. For 10,000 years, they have tried to recreate us by transforming other species. They do not understand that transcendence cannot be forced. Then why didn't you stop them?" Another being moved closer. This one felt familiar somehow, like a song Maya had heard in a dream. "Because we hoped they would learn. Each species they tried to change taught them something. But they kept making the same mistake. They sought to copy us instead of becoming themselves." Maya realized she was still holding her violin. Here in this place of pure thought, it looked different. She could see its true nature now. It wasn't just an instrument. It was a bridge between dimensions, a tool created by the transcended, ones long ago. "My great-grandfather didn't make this," she said. "No, we left it on your world, hoping that someday a human would find it who could use it properly. Your great-grandfather was a good man who found it and kept it safe. But you are the first to make it sing with true understanding. The first." Being gestured, and Maya could suddenly see everything that was happening on Earth. She watched Captain Morrison's forces fighting the transformed humans. She saw the Cathara ships preparing to harvest the minds of everyone who had passed their trials. She saw Dr. Park and her team hiding in the concert hall, wondering if Maya was ever coming back. "I have to help them," Maya said. "You can. But first, you must understand what the frequency really is." The space around Maya filled with music, but not the kind she was used to. This was the music of consciousness itself. Every thinking being in the universe was like an instrument in an infinite orchestra. Some played simple melodies. Others played complex harmonies. Together, they created something beautiful beyond imagination. "The Cathara think the frequency is about artistic ability," the being continued. "But they are wrong. The frequency is about connection. It is the ability to touch another consciousness and share something true. Every human has this ability. Every living thing does. The difference is in how strongly they can project it and how clearly they can receive it." Maya began to understand. "So when I played my violin that night, I wasn't just making music. I was sending out a signal that touched every conscious mind that could hear it." "Exactly. And every human who listened felt something. The Cathara felt it too, but they misunderstood what it meant. They thought only some humans had the gift. They never realized that the gift grows stronger when minds work together." The violin in Maya's hands began to change. She could see its true purpose now. It wasn't just a bridge between dimensions. It was a key that could unlock the frequency in any consciousness, allowing beings to transcend their physical limitations if they chose to. "But transcendence must be a choice," the being warned. "The Cathara are forcing change on your people. This creates slaves, not equals. True transcendence comes from within." Maya nodded. "How do I get back to help my people?" "You never left. You are existing in multiple dimensions at once now. This is what it means to transcend. You can be here and there, in thought and in flesh, whenever you choose." Maya felt herself becoming aware of her physical body back in the concert hall. Dr. Park was monitoring her brain activity, and the readings were unlike anything ever recorded. Bobby, Rachel, and Tony were watching with worried faces as silver. Light poured from Maya's violin dot at the same time. Maya could sense every consciousness on Earth, the transformed humans marching through the cities, the resistance fighters hiding in bunkers, the Kethara in their ships above, and something else. Millions of untested humans, their minds glowing with untapped potential. "I can feel everyone," Maya whispered. "Now you understand? The frequency isn't rare, it's universal. The Kethara simply lacked the perception to detect it properly." Maya made her choice. Still existing in both dimensions at once, she began to play her violin with her physical hands while conducting the symphony of consciousness with her transcended mind. The music that came from the violin was unlike anything she had ever played before. It carried the frequency in its purest form, broadcasting it not just as sound, but as pure meaning that every conscious mind could understand. Across Earth, people stopped what they were doing and listened. In the bunkers, Captain Morrison's soldiers heard hope in the music. In the streets, the transformed humans felt their alien programming weaken as their original personalities began to reassert themselves. In their ships, the Kethara felt confusion as they realized their understanding of the frequency had been completely wrong. But Maya wasn't done. Using the violin as a focus, she began to project a choice to every human mind on the planet. She showed them 3 paths. The first path was to remain unchanged, to stay human as they had always been, but with the knowledge that they were connected to something greater. The second path was to accept partial transcendence, gaining enhanced abilities while keeping their human nature intact. The third path was full transcendence, joining the transcended, ones in their dimension of pure consciousness. But unlike the Kethara's forced transformation, this choice came with understanding. Each person could see exactly what they were choosing and could change their mind at any time. Alex Chun was the first to break free from the alien programming. Standing in the street outside the concert hall, he felt Maya's music wash over him and suddenly remembered who he really was. The alien thoughts in his head became quiet, replaced by his own voice. He looked up at the Kethara ships and smiled. Then he began to run toward the concert hall, no longer an alien puppet, but a human who had chosen his own evolution. Around the world, the war between resistance and harmonists began to end as people realized they had a third option. Maya had given them the choice the aliens never offered, the power to decide their own fate. Maya opened her eyes in the concert hall and smiled. She was back in her physical body, but she could still feel the connection to the transcended ones and to every consciousness on Earth. The violin in her hands had stopped glowing, but she knew its power was still there, waiting. Dr. Park looked at the brain scan readings with amazement. "Maya, your neural activity is completely normal now. Whatever happened to you, it didn't change your basic humanity." "That's because I chose to keep it," Maya said, setting down her violin carefully. "And now, everyone else gets to choose too." Outside, the world was changing in ways no one had expected. Captain Morrison received reports from his teams that the transformed humans were acting normally again. Alex Chun had reached the concert hall and was talking to Tony Williams about quantum mathematics, but his eyes no longer glowed with alien power. "The programming is breaking down everywhere," Pete Johnson reported to Captain Morrison. "People are remembering who they were before the aliens changed them." But the most surprising change was happening to the Kethara themselves. In the ships hovering above Earth's cities, the aliens were experiencing something they had never felt before. For the first time in 10,000 years, they could clearly perceive the frequency they had been searching for. And they realized it was everywhere. Conductor appeared in the concert hall, but this time it looked different, less rigid, more uncertain. "We do not understand what has happened," it said to Maya. "The frequency we sought was present in all humans. How did we not see this before?" Maya stood up and faced the alien leader. Because you were looking for copies of your creators, instead of looking for the real thing. The frequency isn't about making perfect art. It's about connection. It's about touching another mind with something true. But our creators were perfect. They made beautiful things that lasted forever. And then they transcended, Maya replied. They moved beyond needing to make physical things. They became the frequency itself. You've been trying to recreate the past instead of growing into the future. Other Cathara began to appear in the hall. Maya could sense their confusion and something else, loneliness. They had been alone for so long that they had forgotten what connection felt like. We have made errors, Conductor admitted. We caused the deaths of billions of your people. We transformed your kind without permission. How can this be corrected? Maya looked at her team, then at Alex Chun, who is still partly transformed, but fully human in his thoughts. First, you cure the gray rot everywhere, not just for the people you plan to save, for everyone. This can be done, Conductor said. Second, you let every human choose their own path. No more forced changes. No more tests. If someone wants to transcend, they can. If they want to stay normal, they can. If they want something in between, that's their choice too. Conductor was quiet for a long moment. And what of us? We have searched for our creators for 10,000 years. We thought if we could recreate them, we could join them. But now we understand this was not the way. Maya felt a wave of sympathy for the ancient. Aliens. They were like children who had lost their parents and spent their whole lives trying to become them. You don't need to recreate your creators, she said gently. You need to become yourselves. The frequency isn't about being someone else. It's about being the truest version of who you are. But we are artificial beings. We were made, not born. How can we have a true self? Maya picked up her violin again and played a simple melody. As the notes filled the air, she projected a feeling of understanding and acceptance toward the Cathara. Your creators made you with love, she said. That love is part of who you are. You've spent so long trying to find them that you forgot they're already inside you. In your curiosity, in your desire to create, in your search for beauty. The Cathara in the hall began to change. Their rigid forms became more fluid. Colors that Maya had never seen before began to flow through their bodies. For the first time, they looked alive. We feel different, Conductor said, wonder in its voice. You're feeling your own frequency, Maya explained. Not a copy of someone else's, your own. Over the following weeks, the world transformed in ways both dramatic and subtle. The gray rot disappeared completely, allowing plants and animals to grow again. Cities that had been covered in ash began to clean themselves as people worked together to rebuild. Some humans chose to transcend fully, joining the transcended ones in their dimension of pure thought. They became guides and teachers, helping. Other species across the galaxy discover their own frequencies. Others chose partial transcendence, gaining enhanced abilities while staying firmly rooted in the physical world. Dr. Park led efforts to develop new technologies that blended human creativity with transcendent understanding. Alex Chun became the first human to design buildings that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Most humans chose to remain unchanged, but they were no longer cut off from the greater symphony of consciousness. They could feel the connections between all thinking beings, and they used this knowledge to create art, music, and literature that touched souls across the galaxy. Maya became something new, a conductor like the alien leader, but human. She could exist in both dimensions at will, helping other species learn to transcend in their own ways. She traveled to distant worlds, her violin opening doorways between realities. The Cathara, no longer searching for their lost creators, began to discover who they really were. Some became artists in their own right, creating sculptures of living light and music made from the songs of dying stars. Others became teachers, sharing their 10,000 years of experience with younger species. Captain Morrison led the effort to establish Earth's first interdimensional colonies. Humans spread across multiple realities, planting seeds of consciousness. Wherever they went, the concert hall in New Denver became a symbol of the new age. Every year on the anniversary of Maya's first performance, people from across the galaxy gathered there to celebrate the moment when one human's music changed the universe. Maya still returned there often, sitting on the stage where it all began. She would take out her violin and play simple melodies, sending waves of harmony across all dimensions. Sometimes she played Sunflower, the song that had started everything. On one such evening, as Maya played for an audience of humans, Cathara, and dozens of other species, a young alien child raised its hand. "Why do you always play that song?" The child asked. Maya smiled and looked at the sunflower pendant around her neck, the one her grandmother had given her years ago, because sunflowers always turn toward the light, and music helps us remember which way the light is. The child nodded and began to hum along. Soon, the entire audience was humming the simple melody. The sound rose and spread, carrying across dimensions, touching the minds of beings who had never heard human music before. And in that moment, Maya knew that her grandmother had been right. Music really was the language of the soul. It spoke when words could not. It connected what seemed separate. It planted seeds of beauty in the darkest soil. The infinite symphony played on, and every conscious being in the universe was invited to join.